like October. And so let's see. Anyway, so I picked her up in October in Saigon, and I said the first thing that we have to do tonight is have dinner with Creighton Abrams.
Oh wow!
And she says, "I'm not going to eat with that son of a bitch." And I'm thinking, this is my own, my only responsibility is to drag her ass over to see General Abrams. Yeah. If I don't do that, there went my career on day one of this venture. But so I talked to her a little bit. She was pissed about Bob Rowe getting locked up.
Yeah.
And so I said, I had to beg almost. I was like, you're putting me in a pretty difficult position. And so we talked for a while and had a couple of drinks, and she was like, all right, I'll go. And she was delightful, and the evening went well. And we last thing we do is get an invite back before, on our way out of the country, and
yeah,
she accepted it. So
yeah. Wow.
So we got to dine with Creighton Abrams twice.
Well, that's neat.
And, but she had a helicopter assigned, and I mean we went everywhere, and she was really a trooper. And my job basically was carry a bottle of vodka in my fatigues and carrier bags. That's about it.
How did you get that job?
I was coming back from somewhere. It was either I was coming back from R&R or coming back from a leave, maybe. I was in Saigon for some reason, and I stopped at 5th Group, and a buddy of mine was S1, and he asked me if I wanted to do it.
Wow.
And I didn't have anything else going, really. I don't know where I was. I don't even know exactly where I was. I can't remember right now where I was headed or where I was from, but I had been gone for a while, so I didn't have an immediate job that I had to get back to.
Right.
And so I said, yeah, sounds like fun. And when I first went to Saigon, I can't remember the woman's name now, but do you remember the Dobie Gillis? You wouldn't remember the Dobie Gillis show.
I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, there's a Gilda, not Gilda Radner, but God, I can't remember what her name was now. Anyway, there was a female that wasn't the star. Tuesday Wells was the star, but it was the kind of goofy looking other woman that was in the show, and I can't remember what her name was. But anyway, she was there, and she was doing her tour, and I met her at the USO place there, and we talked for, I talked to her for a long time, and that was really interesting. But then once Martha Raye came in, she's a handful. She's a great gal.
Now, did she have an entourage, or was it just her?
No, she traveled by herself.
So this other actress did not go with you guys?
No.
Wow, so it's just on her own, huh?
Yeah, and as I say, she was fantastic. She really was.
Yeah, well, that's good.
And after I got back, after I completed my tours, I had kept in touch with her and went by and stayed at her home in Bel Air. And then,
oh wow.
Yeah, and I mean years after that, she was doing dinner theater in San Clemente, California. And at the same time, she was on a TV show called McMillan and Wife.
Yeah.
With Rock Hudson.
Okay, yeah.
And I went to see her at the thing. She asked me to, because I lived in Southern California. I live in Carlsbad, California. And so I went up, and Rock Hudson was in the audience the night that I went there. And so I went backstage afterwards. The three of us, she and I and Rock Hudson, ended up going out and drinking until they closed the bars 2 o'clock in the morning. And I had like a 40-mile drive home. which I pulled over to the side of the road and got a few hours sobering up time before I did the stretch, because I was in no shape to drive really. But had that, some really neat experiences like that.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I went to several things that were held for her in later years when she was receiving lifetime achievement and awards and stuff like that. But it was
yeah, sounds like an experience.
It's the only thing that makes me semi-famous. I know somebody that was famous.
You know a few people. So
really, I mean, the funniest part of it, the reason we bonded so well is my dad was a career Marine, and he ended up getting stationed in Butte, Montana for a 4-year period after 3 years in Hawaii. Yeah. So we, as a family, we went from Hawaii to Butte, Montana. Now, if you can imagine the climate change in that, yeah. it was significant anyhow. But I ended up loving Butte, Montana. Martha Raye was born in Butte, Montana. So what are the chances she's going to find somebody that knows something about Butte, Montana as a officer, So anyway, so we bonded over that originally.
That's neat. So was she around you guys or around Special Forces so much? Did she actually know Lieutenant Colonel Rowe? Was she upset because she knew him, or she just knew the story of what was going on?
Oh, I'm sure she knew him.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. So that's one of the things you remember about that time period, huh? That she was mad about that.
Yep.
That's neat. That's some experience. So how long ago did she pass away?
Yeah. It's been
15 years, something like that.
Yeah, at least
that. And she's the only woman buried in the SF cemetery.
Fort Bragg.
She's at Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. Wow. So did you retire from the Army?
No. No, I actually I did a little over 4 years is all.
Okay.
And
how were you commissioned?
OCS.
Okay. All right. So just like Steve there.
The Betting School for Boys.
Yeah. When did you get out, Steve?
August 66 is when we graduated.
Okay, I graduated on August 17th of 67. So you were a year ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's neat. Yeah.
Were you the fellow who was also in 53rd Company?
I'm sorry?
Somebody I talked to graduated OCS in 53rd Company.
I was in 74th. Okay. 74th Company. One of my classmates at OCS was Richard Pershing, Blackjack's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first member of our class killed too in Vietnam with 101st.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Yale graduate, cool kid, not really good kid.
Yeah. So you were infantry branch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's neat. Well, I'm glad you guys are here and taking part in all this. It's history, and there are some of us still interested in that history. So that's, how I found Steve. Steve was one of these guys who was online on the internet before a lot of other people. And about 22, 23 years ago, I found him online. And I always had this interest, in special forces in Vietnam. And I saw he had all these books and things. And I managed to talk my way into his house, actually, which is hard to believe. But I went to go visit him to pick up some books and, started telling him the things I knew. And he said, why don't you come on in and we'll talk. And so I got to go in and see his office and, and ever since then, kind of help him out on some of his books and some of his projects. But, it's a great history of the Steve, the stuff that Steve keeps, he's got an entire.
Excuse me for 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm on a Zoom meeting right now. I'm in Cancun.
Oh, you are?
I wanted to do something or check the refrigerator or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, so I try to help out Steve when I can do it. And
Oh, that's great.
yeah, so
That's great.
it's fun to do it. I love the history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I live in Key West. And,
Uh-huh.
I get out to the dive school. I see the guys out at the dive school all the time. So
yeah.
it's pretty good. I mean, I at least maintain some touch with active duty guys, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's neat.
Geez, it's amazing to see the conditioning and stuff that they have now. My wife says, "Were you like that when back then?" I said, "Hell no." We couldn't do any of that stuff. But
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
they think a lot of us, and boy, I tell you, I couldn't think more of what I've seen of them.
I'll bet. Yeah. Well, that's neat. Well, I was at Fort Benning just a little bit after you guys in 1992, so I just missed you guys by a little bit. But so I went to infantry school there, enlisted. You know, I was an enlisted guy. I went to basic and AIT, and then we got our assignments. You know, and some of the drill sergeants said, "Hey guys, you know, good luck wherever you're going. Here are your assignments, but you don't want to go to Fort Polk and you don't want to go to Fort Riley." And of course, I opened up my envelope there, and I was going to Fort Riley. So I said, "Well, I guess I'll go to Riley." So spent a couple of winters there, which aren't fun. But as a matter of fact, Fort Riley, I was 21 years old, and that's the first time I ever saw snow, believe it or not.
Wow.
Never seen snow. Grew up in South Texas. And so the Army showed me a lot of things, including snow.
I had the opposite experience. I put up with snow for all those years. I went in the Army. I come down finally to Fort Bragg, and the first snowflakes that started falling, everybody took their cars and aimed for the nearest telephone pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that'll happen. So, Mr. Trost, do you get out to the SFA or any of the meetings?
I used to live in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is pretty close to Bragg.
Yeah.
And I'd get up there once in a while, but I've never been to the conventions or any of them.
Yeah.
Never belonged to a local chapter.
Yeah.
And just or in any of the other service organizations, to be honest with you. Just life got in the way, I guess. I don't know. Never became a top priority for me, and that's why I really enjoyed yesterday, and that's why I came back today. Was to see if there anybody else to talk to. I have a few guys from that I've served with that I'm still in touch with, and we had a 50th reunion of our OCS class a few years ago, which was really interesting. That there were three or four of us there that were SF, and so it was good to see them, and I'm in touch with them all the time. I say all the time. All the time is once every 6 months or so.
Yeah, good stuff too. Well, makes it stuff like this makes it a little easier to see.
Oh yeah,
talk to people, and then you got this whole pandemic thing going anyway, which a lot of things have been shut down, and so I think it's neat the way that Steve set all this up, and he's got a bit more to go too. He says he's going on to I-Corps and those guys, and that's it's a lot of work, but I think it's
ambitious.
Yeah, so
I think as I say, it was a great experience for me, but that and I'm sure that I could see there were other guys there. And in fact, I wanted to ask you, Steve. There was a guy that was at Doc Siang, and he only came in for a while. And there were the two guys from Doc Siang, and I didn't know either of them. We're talking, and he said the one said, "The last time I saw you, you weren't in very good shape. You had just got shot out of the John Wayne Tower that was at the camp."
Christensen, the guy who got shot out of the tower, probably. Ed Christensen.
Yeah.
Pat
That's what I was going to ask. That's exactly what I was going to ask you what his name was, because I'd like to get in touch with him.
He was the XO at the camp.
Yeah.
And Pat Dizine was on the team. Gary Bykirk, who wasn't there, but he's not feeling well. He got Medal of Honor in that action.
Yeah.
And Paul Landers, who I talked to last week, declined to show up. He was concerned about the internet and the hazards of doing things on the internet. Really is.
It's not like getting your camp overrun.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad.
No, he was more afraid of the internet than he was of that.
Yeah. So he was afraid of like personal information, that kind of thing, security.
Well, he hung around the SOCOM headquarters, both, the latter part of his career and many years after, had a second career as a civilian. And somewhere he said the Office of Personnel Management lost everybody's files, and they were out in the world, and they're out there. And nothing happened to him.
Right.
He never had a problem with it. He's just afraid that some Russian hacker is going to come in and take away all his money. And
One of my OCS.
You can't do that. You can't worry about life that well,
One of my OCS classmates was with Project Delta in Vietnam, and then he went in. He was with PRU for a while, and anyway, he ended up getting out of the Army and going with the CIA for a while. And he is the most paranoid son of a bitch I've ever seen. I mean, he really is like, oh, he said, I can't go anywhere near Vietnam. There's still a bounty on me and all this. And I'm like, come on now.
They don't give. So were you said you were at Duck Peck, were you there during the fight there in April of 70?
No. In fact, I was in the Trang, and I was 2 Corps liaison officer. I can't remember if it was the 1st Field Force or the 2nd Field Force, whichever one was headquartered in the Trang.
1st Field Force.
I was, I'm sorry?
1st Field Force was in the Trang.
Yeah, 1st Field Force. And I was trying to get support for both Doc Peck and Doc Siang, and was just running into, there just weren't enough. There weren't enough Americans. The word was that there wasn't enough Americans there to utilize the assets.
Wow,
they had other higher priorities.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, which was probably one of the most frustrating. In fact, I didn't deal with it real well. Yeah. And I ended up coming home early. So anyway, that wasn't my best job. Yeah. I got fired from a lot of them, but that was my worst one.
So the SF guys, so 5th Group had liaisons to the bigger organizations there, the conventional units.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this was I mean, I was out of B Company. I was working for B Company specifically.
Yeah.
So we had, because I mean they controlled a lot of stuff, a lot of the air.
Well, we had the assets. Doc Siang really was saved by the combination of the Pleiku Mike Force and then Trang Mike Force coming in right behind the people who were attacking them.
Yeah.
So they ended up cleaning up pretty well.
Yeah. I saw I didn't hear him talk at all, but I saw Lee Wade was on yesterday.
Yeah.
He looks a lot older than I thought he would. I think he was already a little bit older than most guys back then. But I was waiting for him to. I never did hear him talk. I never heard him speak.
He didn't say a word really. I was there for a while when he was there, but when he was younger, he and Billy Martin would get together at a convention, and you could just sit there like a fly on a wall and listen to these two talking. There's a certain language that SFNGOs had that was completely different than any other language in the world, and that just fascinating watching them back and forth. And Lee and Billy Martin were just great at it.
That's
I
funny.
don't know. Billy should have been there too, but
I don't know. I thought you had a pretty good turnout yesterday.
not the one we had the capacity to deal with.
Yeah, but I mean, you still had a lot of guys aren't. They don't. I think probably what keeps a lot of them away is just the Zoom. Kind of not kind of worried about what they need to do to get on, and that kind of thing. Just maybe not so computer savvy. I think keeps some people away. But it's pretty easy.
Yeah, everybody really that got on there, it was easy for them to get on. I'm thinking that when I go into I-Corps, I'm going to have single camp meetings. So I'll just do one camp, no breakout rooms, no nothing. Today, your camp, okay? Because then they just click on the link, he's there.
Right.
Don't have to teach anybody to do anything. I don't have to teach them about chats and participants. It would be nice if they would do it, but the fact is they don't need to do it. If there's no breakout rooms, I don't need to teach them anything. They come on, talk, and since it's just one camp, that at a time. Here I have 3 days of meetings. I-Corps, I've got 10 camps, so it's a couple more days of meetings.
Right.
Not a big thing. And Mike just suggested another thing I've got to do, probably, which is to host an OCS class reunion.
That'd be neat. Yeah.
I did that. We did a live reunion on our 40th anniversary at Fort Benning, but a Zoom reunion is something I can do pretty easily. I'd probably have to spend a couple of weeks calling people up and getting their current numbers and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would work.
Yeah, I have a very good OCS class that we were pretty close together. A lot of SF people in the class.
Well, that's good. So how's Cancun, Mr. Trost?
Excellent.
How long have you been
Excellent.
there?
We got here yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and we're here for a week, 7 days.
Yeah.
But we're at the Sun Palace, and we've been here twice before, and it's one of those all-inclusive places that they spoil you rotten, and you don't have to do much.
Are you on the beach?
I'm fine with that. I'm sorry?
You're right on the beach?
Yeah.
That's neat. Yeah. So you didn't, were you worried at all about some of these stories coming out about the cartels and all that kind of stuff?
Nah, I read them, but I know I honestly wasn't. They actually happened down the peninsula a ways anyhow. They're not.
Yeah.
We're right now. I'm on a dead end peninsula, which is not a good place for a bunch of guys with guns to be.
Yeah.
Because they can't get off. It's like being stranded on our island if they get caught. So I think it's pretty safe where I am.
Well, that's good. And
if not, I'm going to go out having had a good time.
That's right. On the beach, having fun.
Yeah. These are all free days that I'm living now anyhow.
Yeah. So do most of the staffers there speak English, or do you speak a little Spanish?
Both. Yeah, both.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, very, very little for me. So they're, I had 3 years. I grew up in San Diego, San Diego County. So there was a lot of Spanish
stuff there. Yeah.
Spanish there. Yeah. But I've been away from it for a lot of years. I took 3 years of college too. So
well, that's good.